Hi everyone, Vanessa here from Love Riley. Welcome back. Today we're going to be making the Verona tote. This is a brand new pattern from Lizjay Craft Bag Patterns. Isn't it amazing? It is such an amazing bag. I love the shape, I love the details, I love the chain strap. It was the first time I've ever used grommets. It's the first time I've ever done one of these handles. The handle was a learning experience. It taught me some brand new skills and I love that. The chain is extra long. It doubles as a shoulder strap, crossbody strap. It also has a luggage sleeve on the back. So it's got a hidden zipper at the bottom so you can slip your handle of your luggage through here, close it up, and it'll secure your bag further to your luggage. But you can also keep it closed and just use it as a slip pocket. It's got a dual purpose and I love that. The sides are unique. I have never done sides like this before and I love the way that they turned out. This is the base. I love purse feet on a bag. This detail is just stunning. I did have to go with a bigger O-ring here because the chain that I used, it was not big enough to be able to wrap around these two gate rings. Overall, it is a beautiful sized tote. I'm going to actually keep this one for myself. The grommets were push-in grommets that I got from Dreamy Bag Hardware. They were simple to use. I didn't have any issues with those at all. This is the first time I've ever tested for this pattern designer and she was so super patient with any questions that we had to ask. She was amazing. The sides here have a snap. This was not part of the original pattern. It was added in after. When I did my handle, I did struggle a little bit with the hose that I chose to use. I do go over everything in the video. I tell you what hose worked the best for me. When I did finally get the handle correct, the sides weren't pulling in as much as they were meant to. When I fed the chain through the grommets, they just weren't coming in enough. I honestly was not sure what I was going to do. Another tester had the same issue and she used snaps on the side of hers. So I thought, what an amazing idea. That is why I added snaps. The pattern designer took all of the feedback on board and she actually has placements now on the pattern if you want to go ahead and further put in the sides of your bags by adding snaps or magnets. So that was a fantastic addition. The bag is closed with a magnetic snap and we'll open it to its full size. And as you can see, there is a lot of room in this bag. We have on the inside 2 large zipper pockets and we have a double slip pocket. And this, like I said, has got an incredible amount of room. And then on the other side, we have an additional zipper pocket. You can either choose to have the longer part of your handle at the front and pull it up so that this detail is on your shoulder. And that's what it'll look like if you use it at the front. Or you can just pull it and use it at the back. And then this detail is at the front of your bag. It can be done either way, but either way looks fantastic. And then again, you've got this big slip pocket luggage sleeve at the back. Again, I will be keeping this for myself. I love the way that it turned out. It's just so elegant. The pattern was very easy to follow. There weren't any details that I didn't understand. And like I said, this is my first time testing for this pattern designer. It is a drop-in lining, but I had absolutely no problems with the top stitching on this at all. And as you know, I really don't like that part. Look at this bag, it is just beautiful. Please go out and get the pattern and support this designer because it really is a gorgeous size bag and you'll love it. So if you'd like to see me make the Verona tote, then please keep watching. Have an amazing day and I'll catch you all on the next video. Bye! Let's go over all of our pattern pieces that we need for our Verona tote. This vinyl here that I'm using I got from a local supplier. I don't believe they have a website, but if they do, I'll link it below. These are my main pattern pieces out of my exterior vinyl. I've stabilized these as per the pattern with Decaville Heavy out of the seam allowances. So I've got 2 exteriors. This is the base of my bag. I've gone ahead and I've stabilized this as per the pattern with Decaville Heavy and I've marked the placement for my purse feet. So that is my base there. You only need one exterior of those because it's a box bottom for your lining. Next we have our handle. I have made a slight modification to this to adjust for the size hose that I'm using. I've already gone ahead and I've prepped one, and this is how I know that I had to adjust my pattern slightly to incorporate the size hose that I am using. So we'll get to that. This is my handle piece. I've got one of those. I've not stabilized this with anything because it does become quite thick, and I've marked my line down the center. I've got a 1.5 inch wide seatbelt webbing. I have cut it longer than what it states in the pattern, and I will explain why, but you actually want to cut it with quite a bit of length on each side. It just helps when you go to insert the hose in your handle. It helps it not get caught up. That's what I found. I did 2 practice ones before this one, and on this one I did keep it longer, and then when I finished, got the hose in there, I went ahead and cut it off. Cut that longer than what it is in the pattern. When I did my practice one with the tubing that I've got, the hose piece, I found that I wasn't able to get the hose in properly, so that's why I went ahead and adjusted mine. So the size for mine cut is 3 3/4 wide. That is different to the pattern piece, but that is what I had to use to be able to get the hose in comfortably. One external and my seatbelt webbing, that's for my handle. I've got a zipper overlay, and I've not stabilized that with anything, so I've got one of those out of my exterior vinyl. I did go ahead and cut a slip pocket trim piece. It is not called for in the pattern, but I did that anyway, so I've just cut that longer than what I need, and that's 1.5 inches wide. I've got 2 exterior top lining panels out of my exterior vinyl. I've not stabilized, I've not interfaced that with anything, so I've got 2 of those. And I do have to apologize, I'm trying to speak loud because there is a storm, and yeah. These are for my back pocket panel. I've got 1 exterior, not interfaced, not stabilized, 1 out of my lining, which is a waterproof canvas, not stabilized, not interfaced, so I've got 1 of each of those. In the pattern it calls for 4 zipper tabs. I've just extended mine and done 2, and I'm going to fold them over like they are now. So I've got 2. These are my lining main panels. I've got 2 of these out of my waterproof canvas, not stabilized, not interfaced, 2 of those. This I got from By the Bay Craft Supplies. I'll leave a link below, and it's custom printed. I did the design and had it printed through them. This is for my slip pocket panel. I've got 1 of these out of a waterproof canvas. I've not interfaced, I've not stabilized, 1 of those. I've got 4 zipper pocket panels out of my waterproof canvas, not stabilized, not interfaced, 4 of those. This is the 1.5 inch wide seatbelt webbing that I got from Dreamy Bag Hardware. This is not the hose that you want to use for your bag. I do use it in the video, and then I had to go and experiment with different hoses, so do not use this one. You need a more rigid hose, so I used some garden hose. This was my best bet because I got this super rigid one from Bunnings, but it was not going anywhere. There was no flex to it at all, and it just had my handle going straight across. So you don't use this. You don't use this one, which is what I use in the video, but I change it. What we do is we use garden hose. We had a brand new hose at home that had not been used, so I just cut the measurement off that hose, and this is what we're using. I do have some choices here, so it looks like a lot, but it's not. I have 3 number 5 zipper pulls. It calls for rivets, but I'm using Chicago screws. We have 4 purse feet. We've got some bag chain. I've just got this one that I got from Temu. I've got this little O-ring to join everything together. I have a magnet. I've got a nameplate. I've got 8 grommets. It'll tell you in the pattern how big these need to be. These are just push-in ones from Dreamy Bag Hardware that I got. I've never used them before, so we'll see how we go. You need 2 gate rings. I've got these from Dreamy Bag Hardware. That's all the hardware that we need. Number 5 zipper tape, and I believe that's it. Let's get on and make the Verona bag. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my handle. I will be using fabric glue. I use this Helmer's glue that I get from Spotlight. I'll leave it linked below. I've got my exterior handle piece and I've got my webbing. And you need a lot of clips. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot of glue down the outside of my center line. You don't want this to move when you're in the middle of putting your tube in. I'm going to get my 1.5 inch wide seatbelt webbing and I'm going to match up the centers and I'm going to lay that down. And I'm making sure I have excess on the end and I'm just going to gently press that into place. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting glue right up against the edge of our webbing and I'm just going to do one side at a time. Because what I want is I want to make sure that the edges of our vinyl are glued down so that when you put your hose in, it doesn't lift them. So I'm going to fold in the long edge and it's going to sit up against, but not over our webbing. And I'm going to start clipping this down. If you're using what is in the pattern, you won't have as much of a fold as I do, but I extended mine so that it would fit the hose. So that's why I've got this much of a fold. So I'm just going to go ahead and just stick all this down and then I'll do the other side. And then I'm going to pop that off to the side to dry and we'll come back to this later. This is quite a fast drying glue. It won't take long for me to have to put this to the side and then come back. And these are the edges that I really want stuck down. I do not want these to lift. So use as many clips as you need just to hold those down. And then I want to do the other side. It doesn't matter if you get glue on your webbing, you won't see it. And before I did start, I did go ahead and seal the edges of my webbing with my lighter to prevent them from fraying. And that's it for the glue, and we're going to stick this down. It doesn't matter if you get a little bit of glue come out the edges here on the ends because you're not going to see this goes in your bag. Once you've got your tubing in, you should have about 2 inches of either edge that doesn't have tube in it to go inside your bag. You could try and use double-sided tape, but I just know that this vinyl is not going to hold down with double-sided tape. And again, you really don't want these edges here lifting when you're trying to put your tube in because you're just going to fight with it. That's what I found on the first try. And this is the first time I've ever done rolled handles like this, so that's why I practiced first. Which, as you know, I normally don't. I just normally dive in, but I'm glad I did because otherwise it would have taken me forever. And I do it so you don't have to. After this, we're going to move on to the chain and getting that ready. Now, in the pattern, it does have you do a strip of vinyl and feed it in between the loops, but my chain is not big enough to be able to do that. So my chain's just going to have the chain itself and no vinyl on the inside. So that's what it's looking like so far. So I'm going to put that to the side to dry. You're going to need your chain and your little jump ring or whatever you're going to use and your O-rings. I've got my rings here and I'm going to insert this through one. In the photo of the pattern, these two are stuck together with a loop, but mine's not thick enough to go through both, so that's why I'm using this extra loop here. Now what I have to do is I have to open up one of these ends on my chain and loop it through our O-rings. Okay, so I'm going to open this and feed that through and then close it. There we go. That's now closed. Alright, so this is what I have so far. I'm not going to be able to finish it, obviously, because we've got to insert this through our bag and then secure it when the bag's done. So you can put that to the side for now, but that's what it's looking like. We're going to start with our back pocket pieces. I've got my exterior here. Find the center, top and bottom on both pieces. Your zipper tape, we're going to put our zipper pull on. I've got my zipper tabs here. As I mentioned earlier, mine are a different size. I just want to fold mine over rather than having 4 pieces. Make sure that you put your zipper pull on, because you really don't want to put zipper tabs on and forget your pull. That's not very good. I've put double-sided tape on either side of the center. I'm just going to remove that. Fold this, sandwich my zipper tab right there. Just put some clips and do the other side, and then I can just top stitch this on. Okay, I'm top stitching this at 1/8 of an inch from my raw edge here. And then I can swing this one around and just chain stitch these. I'm going to find my center top and center bottom. I'm just doing a little snip there, and then I will use my lighter just to seal that again. Because this gets put on our bag and is essentially upside down, I'm going to have my zipper closing to the right, so that when it's on my bag and it's upside down, it's going to open to the left. So go ahead and just clip that on. It does tell you to go ahead and put your lining on now, but I'm just going to go ahead and baste this in place, and then I'll add my lining. I'm just basting it in place with 1/8 of an inch. Then I can get my lining, right sides together, and this gets our full seam allowance. What I'm also going to do is on this short edge here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a 1/2 inch mark, and I'm going to do that on my lining and my exterior. So just mark 1/2 inch. And you'll need that for later on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew this with the full seam allowance. What we'd normally do would be to turn it out and top stitch. We're not doing that. What we need to do is we actually need to go ahead and we're going to sew up one side, the short side, and we're going to sew up the bottom. So I'm just going to sew the bottom first. So this is your full seam allowance that we're doing now. We're not sewing this side yet. The side that we drew on, we're not sewing that yet. We're going to go ahead and sew this other short end. Again, seam allowances in the pattern. Then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to cut down these corners to reduce bulk. Now we get to turn this right sides out. Just poke out all your corners. So this is what we have so far. What I'm going to do is, just for the moment, I'm just going to roll this seam to the back, and I'm just going to put some clips on there so that it stays put. So this is the bottom edge. I just want to make sure that my lining is completely to the back. I really don't want to see it. I'll do this short side too. Just clip it out of the way. So now this is what we're left with. What we're going to do is we're going to fold in these raw edges, and we're going to fold it in to meet that line there. Now you can use double-sided tape. Do that on both sides. do the lining first. I've probably got more chance of that sticking than the vinyl. So I'm just going to remove the backing off that tape and fold this in to meet that line that I drew. Now it's only a small seam allowance, so just keep that in mind. Yes, definitely use tape. It's a lot easier. Okay, now the vinyl side, I will also clip it. Just do your best to have that meet up. Oh, that did pretty good. And clip it so it cannot move while you do the other side. Yeah, I had a feeling this vinyl didn't want to stick. I'll just do a little bit at a time and then fold them together and clip them. I do want my lining to be behind my vinyl because I don't want to see my lining on the bag when I sew it on. However, we do top stitch this down, so we can't have it underneath by too far, otherwise we'll miss it when we come to sew it on our bag. So now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch our long edges. So we're going to top stitch where our zip pull is and then down this straight edge. We are not sewing these yet. 1/8 of an inch starting right at the end. You can gently pull your vinyl down and gently pull your zipper tape up, but do not pull it too much because you might distort it. And then undo your zipper pull so it doesn't get in the way, and all the way to the other end, and then the bottom. That looks fantastic. So just put it to the side for now, but that's what it's looking like. You want to start out with one of your main panels and you want a removable pen. Now, make sure that you're doing this the right way up. So if you look at your main panel, the widest bit is at the top. The narrowest, smallest part is the bottom. So just go ahead and write at the top, so that you do not do it upside down, which I did. I'm going to go ahead and draw my center line, and then from the bottom we need to go ahead and measure what it says in the pattern and draw a line. We want a piece of double-sided tape and we're going to put it just under that line, and I'm going to use a 1/4 inch double-sided tape. That should be enough. And then you want the pocket that we just sewed. What we're going to do is you want it right sides together, face up, and you're going to stick it just on that line. And then what we do is we flip it up, and then that becomes our luggage pocket. So remove the tape. I've already got the center of my zipper marked. I'm going to put it right on that line and stick it down. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew this on with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Just make sure that you back stitch really well. At the beginning and at the end, this seam allowance is different to what we have been using so far. Get to here and I'm going to do my zip up and then re-stick this down and sew the rest. Then I can get rid of my marks, and then we're going to flip it up, and now you can see your zipper is on the left, closing to the left. What we need to do is we need to go ahead and we're going to sew down the short sides. Make sure that it's straight, and we're sewing down the short sides. And this is the side that I folded in. 1/8 of an inch. Make sure you back stitch well at the beginning and the end. Oh, that looks fantastic. 1/8 of an inch. Back stitch well. And that's it. That's our luggage sleeve on. So as you can see, that now is our luggage sleeve. It looks like it's an upside down zipper, but when you put your handle through there, you would be able to zip this up so it makes it more secure. But there is our luggage sleeve. Base, right sides together. You do have a bit of bulk here that you have to work with the zipper pocket that we just put on. It's pushing against the base, so just take your time when you're sewing this on because it's probably going to want to slip. What you could do is baste it on first and then do your full seam allowance. I might do that. Once it's basted on, it's not going to move. I'm going to baste it on first. I'll do 1/4 inch first. Yeah, it's fighting me. It's pushing up. I think it's still okay. The other side we won't have that luggage sleeve fighting against the seam. It's this that's pushing it away. So now I'm going to come in, that's basted. I'm going to do my full seam allowance. Now what we want to do is we want to top stitch. We want our seam underneath our base. So we're sewing through our base and the seam and we're top stitching. 1/8 inch. And we're going to repeat with our other panel. However, I do need to go ahead and put my nameplate on first. So I'm going to go ahead and install my nameplate and then I'll be back. Right sides together, again making sure you're doing it the right way up. This time we shouldn't have to baste because we don't have that pocket fighting us. On the other bag, I got all the way to boxing the corners on this next step before I realised I'd done it upside down. I'm just glad that I hadn't done all of the lining because I was able to just recut the front pieces of this and the base. Full seam allowance. Alright, folding that down. Again, we're making sure that our seam is underneath our base and we're going to top stitch. Now we get to put it right sides together and we're going to match up all of our sides and we're sewing this with the seam allowance given in the pattern. I did go ahead on this one and draw my seam allowance, so there was no guesswork there. I could just follow the line. This looks so much better than the last one. I don't know what I was thinking. Full seam allowance. And then we're going to do the other side. Now we're going to box the bottom, and this time it's going to work because we're going to do it right. So, boxing the bottom. Wow. Oh, I might put in the footage of how the other one looked. Alright, opening out our seams and matching up our centres, and we're going to clip this together. So we're just pulling this together out, opening up these seams, joining our centres and clipping it. Wow, that looks like it's right. That's what it looks like. Alright, let's sew this. That side's done. It tells you to actually go ahead now, like turn it right side out and insert the base interfacing and the bag feet. I guess that makes sense. Maybe that's why it pushed back on me, but that's alright. I've already done mine. But you could go ahead and do it now if you wanted to. Oh wow, it looks like it's meant to. Oh, I love that. I don't think we need to turn that back inside out. This is what we have so far. I've got a little bit of wrinkling, but I can go ahead and repress this. There's our base. And this is our luggage pocket. We can sit this to the side. Next, we want our overlay. And I'm going to put a strip of double-sided tape along here and here. Next, you want one of your lining pieces. And there's a measurement given in the pattern where you need to mark a line. If you haven't already, go ahead and find the center. I'm just going to use my heat erasing pen just to mark the center. I'm just going to fold this in half to find the center. I'm going to line this up on that mark. I'm only removing the top part of the double-sided tape for now, making sure that's centered. Now that that's centered, I can go ahead and remove the bottom backing of the double-sided tape and press that down. We're going to go ahead and top stitch on the outside an 1/8 of an inch. This was handmade by me using a ton of passion, money and time. You better like it or else. I think we can stick that under there. It tells you to pull your threads through, but because mine are basically the same colour, I'm just going to back stitch. Now we can fold this together and we can trim out the center. So just make a snip. And then we want to come in here and just trim this away from the back of the overlay, but just be careful. You do not want to snip your overlay accidentally. This does not have to be pretty, no one will ever see it. Okay, so when you turn it over, you want to make sure that you cannot see any of that lining, and I can't, so that's good. Put that to the side for the moment, and then you want 2 zipper pocket panels. A zipper pull, zipper tape. I'm going to show you how I like to do these. Find the center, and you want the longest part at the top. So find the center of both pieces. I'm going to cut my zipper tape longer than it needs to be. I'm going to take one of my linings, right side up, and my zipper tape, right side up, and I'm going to baste that on. Then I want to flip this up, and I want to press this seam down. And this is thick because it's the thick waterproof canvas. But I'm going to fold this down and I'm going to top stitch this down. So I'm just finding the center of the zipper tape. Make a little snip. And we're going to repeat the same thing. So lining right side up, zipper tape right side up, and we're basting that on. Folding that up and out, and then pushing this down and top stitching this down. when you're looking at it, you should be looking at the wrong side of your zipper pocket, but the right side of your zipper tape. And if you turn it over, you can see the right side of your zipper pocket, but the wrong side of your zipper tape. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my zipper pull on, and I'm going to have my zipper closing to the left. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to run some double-sided tape down here. I'll use 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape. Zipper pull on. I'm going to have it in the middle, and then I'm going to bring my lining back, and I'm going to line that up in the middle. Now, when you turn it over, you want to make sure that your zipper pocket is within that box that we cut out. Mine is now. Once I'm happy that it's lined up, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom part of my double-sided tape backing, and I'm going to lay this down. There we go. And if you're not happy with the placement, you can just lift it up and fix it. I'm going to fold this down and remove the backing off here. So my zipper pocket right now is laying out flat. Now I can sew this on 1/8 of an inch from the inside edge this time. Again, I'm not worried about back stitching, so I'm going to do it as close to the corner as I can. As you can see, the bottom is there flat out and the top is up here. I'm just going to undo my zipper. Done. And that looks fantastic. I'm just going to trim this here so that they're even. Turn this over and we're going to sew this up. Seam allowance for this is given in the pattern, but I'm sewing up the sides and the bottom. And I have back stitched well over my zipper tape. So folding in the side as well. Done. You can trim down any excess zipper tape that you have. Just remember though, when you trim zipper tape, make sure that you seal the edges again. One side of our lining done. So the other side has a zipper pocket as well. So put this to the side. You want to go ahead and repeat the same steps for your other zipper pocket. I went ahead and I did the other zipper panel. So now we've got 2 zipper overlays. Next, what we want to do is our slip pocket. I am going to do my slip pocket a little bit different to what's in the pattern because I've got that overlay that I want to use. With my slip pocket, I'm going to mark 1 inch in on either side. I'm going to add some double-sided tape, and then we're going to fold our edges in. Fold your edges in to meet that 1 inch line. And then I'm going to use 1/4 inch double-sided tape again down here. Quickly remove this. And we want to put this wrong sides together, matching up those sides. And I'm just going to baste the top closed. Now I'm going to get my trim. I want to get my ruler. I want to measure 5/8 of an inch up from the bottom. And I'm going to put some double-sided tape there. Either side. I've got the bigger seam at the bottom. I'm going to remove that double-sided tape there. and I'm going to stick the raw edge on that line. Then I'm going to remove the top double-sided tape and I'm going to fold that down. And what this will do is it will give me, at the back, it's going to give me a bigger seam allowance, which is what I want, because when I top stitch it means I'm going to get both sides at once, rather than hoping that I get both sides if it's the same length. You can also go ahead and put a tag under here, and then I'm going to do 2 rows of top stitching on this. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch from the top edge and then 1/8 of an inch from the bottom edge. So if there is an overhang, we can trim that down. We can trim it so that it's even. Top stitching. Okay, that's one done, and one more. Done. That looks fantastic. And as you can see on the back, we've got both sides. Now you can go ahead and trim this down if you want. It's not really necessary, you can leave it like that. Now we can go ahead and put it on one of our sides. I'm not going to put it on the back because if I do, it's going to cover up this tag. So I'm going to put it on the other side. I'm happy with it just there. So I'm just going to hold that and move my pocket out of the way. It's going to go into my bottom a little bit, but I'm okay with that. Alright, I'm going to start stitching down at the top. I'm going to really reinforce it. While I'm here though, I might actually divide that pocket. My machine does not like double-sided tape. So I'm just marking the middle. I'll split this pocket. I'm going to come along to 1/8 of an inch outside of that centre line. I'm going to come up. Again, make sure your pocket is up out of the way. At the top there, I'm going to come across one stitch and then I'm going to come back down. There we go. And then we can finish sewing this up. And that's it. That's our slip pocket done. So there we have a slip pocket and a zipper pocket. I love it. Now you want your top trim pieces and you want to place it so that the bigger points are facing you, and you're putting this right sides together and we're going to sew this on. There's a marking that we need to make on this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that now before I stitch this on. And this will be for our drop down lining. And you want to do that on both pieces. Okay, we're sewing this on with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Just make sure you don't sew accidentally on the line that you just drew. That's something I'd do. Then we're going to fold this up and top stitch. Okay, we're top stitching on our lining, so my seams are underneath my lining. Okay, and you want to repeat that for the other lining panel. Now what we need to do is we need to get pattern piece F. Use a removable pen. I'm going to line this up with the top, lining up my centres, and I'm marking that right there. Again, lining that up in the centre, marking it there. Now what we want to do is go ahead and install our magnet. I got these really pretty magnets from A Passion for Vinyl before she closed down. I am also going to use a piece of Decaville Heavy to back the prongs because there is no stabilizer or interfacing on this top panel. And you want to do that for both pieces. Well, I do it for both pieces, you don't have to. But that's why I keep these little offcuts. Be very careful, please. Oh, that looks so pretty. Okay. So you can see it's very close to that line that we have to drop this down onto. I'm going to put my prongs to the outside. And it's okay if I have to glue my vinyl to the top of that. I just really need to be careful when I go to top stitch. And I'm going to back it with some fleece, but I do want to try and keep it out of that seam. We're not going to have a lot of room for top stitching, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, so that's one side done. So now you want to go ahead and repeat it with the other side. Then we join these together, right sides together. I love that sound. You probably wouldn't really have to clip, but we'll do it anyway. I am going to have to finish this tomorrow, probably close into Monday as well, because I have to glue this and I've got a full day on tomorrow with a very exciting project that involves all of you. And I'm so excited about it. It's been years in the making. But before you do the good stuff, you've got to do the yucky stuff, which tomorrow will include me and my husband and children cleaning out a shipping container so that everything that is currently in my work space can be moved into the shipping container temporarily. And that's all I'm going to say. So because this is a drop-in lining, we do get to sew the bottom closed. So we're just going to sew up both sides and the bottom, obviously not the top. This will be the first time I've ever used grommets on a bag. Let's sew this up. Seam allowance in the pattern. I'm going to just jump to the bottom and I can cut that jump stitch off later. And back up this side. It does not tell us to increase seam allowances at all. And then we're going to box the bottom. Pull it together. You can either nest your seams or have them flat open. I'm just going to nest mine, I think. Just have them going in opposite directions if you're nesting them. And then the same for this side. Make sure when you nest your seams that they go in the same direction. So as you can see, and it's a bit hard, that's in the way. Mine is completely flat and it is all in the right direction. Because if it's in the opposite, it's going to sit funny in the bottom of your bag and you don't want that, not after all this hard work. Push everything out of your way. Seam allowance in the pattern. That's one side done. And because we didn't trim the exterior main, I'm not going to trim these. And there we have it. Our lining is complete. Look at that. Matches perfectly. That's our lining. What I'm going to do is just trim these off. So now what we need to do is we need to start with our exterior. So bring that back. Actually, I'm just going to put my lining in just to see what it's going to look like. Oh, this is pretty. It fits perfectly. That's what it's going to look like. Exterior. What it says to do is on the line that we made earlier, is to run double-sided tape and then fold your exterior down to meet that line. I don't use double-sided tape, I use glue. I'm going to start gluing mine. This will sit overnight. So I'm just gluing it and I'm going to push it down to that line and stick some clips on there, and I'm going to do that all the way around our handle. This is all dry. Now what we want to do is we want to put these edges wrong sides together, so you're looking at your finished side and you're going to clip this open edge together. So then this is what it looks like. You've got that extra bit to place your hose. Do a top stitch along this open edge at 1/8 of an inch. Make sure you back stitch really well at the beginning and the end, because you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on this to get your hose in. Just do it 1/8 of an inch. I went a little bit more than 1/8 in there. I hope that'll be okay. Now we get to fight with hose. So we're going to insert the hose here and we're going to push it all the way through to the end. And the reason that I said to leave extra bits here is so that you can hold on to that while you feed it through. It actually does make it a lot easier. And just use your table to flatten this out. I'm just going to use these hemostats just to clip on the edge and hopefully push in more of the hose. This is not the hose that you want to use for your bag. I do use it in the video and then I had to go and experiment with different hoses, so do not use this one. You need a more rigid hose. So I used some garden hose. This was my best bet because I got this super rigid one from Bunnings, but it was not going anywhere. There was no flex to it at all, and it just had my handle going straight across. So you don't use this. You don't use this one, which is what I use in the video, but I change it. What we do is we use garden hose. We had a brand new hose at home that had not been used, so I just cut the measurement off that hose and this is what we're using. I actually did glue this into my bag with the clear vinyl tubing that I used in the video. Then I had to pull it all out. Luckily the glue that I used was not super glue. I was able to get it out of the bag, and so now we can just put this hose in. And I do apologize, it is storming, but it's Queensland and it's summer. I need to get this bag finished. So just pop this through the end, in the middle, you want an even bit on each end, so just push it back up if you need to get it as centered as you can. That's good. Okay, so that's in the middle. Now that that's in there, it's not moving, I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut off these because I do not need those anymore that tube's in there. And you want to go ahead and you want to seal this. You don't want it to fray. And look at that. It's in there and our edges are finished. We're back. It's the next day. As you can see, everything is dried. I've removed all my clips. We're ready to put our lining in. What you want to do is the lining, you want to put it in your bag as you want it to be in the bag. So when I open my bag, so this is the front, I'm going to put this in and I want it so that when you open the bag, you're going to see your zipper overlay and the slip pocket. I want that on the back of the bag. So I'm going to put it in as I want it to appear in the bag. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start matching everything up. So I'm going to start with my side seams here And what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and clip all of this together just to make sure that everything lines up. I haven't mucked anything up. And then when I'm happy that everything is the way that it's meant to be, I can go ahead and start gluing it. I'm starting with my side seams here. Like I said, I'm just clipping this at the moment. The next step in the pattern is to actually go ahead and top stitch this. I'm gluing mine because I really do not want it to move when it comes time to top stitch. So now that I've got those all lined up, I'm going to come to the back of the bag. There's my center right here. My other center is right here, and I'm going to match those two up right there. And I'm going to put a clip, and then I can move to the other side. So this is the back of the bag. So again, I'm going to go ahead and find my center mark here, my center mark here on my lining, and match these two up and pop some clips there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the whole bag and just clip it together just to make sure everything lines up and is where it's meant to be. There's no weird gaps. Then what I can do is when I'm happy that everything is lined up and it looks like it's going to, I can go ahead and glue it all together. I will need to wait for this to dry before I go ahead and top stitch. So what I'll do is I'll clip all of this together, and then we'll come back and I can start gluing it. So those two layers are clipped together. Look at how amazing that looks in there. I'm happy now that that is all clipped together. There's no big gaps or anything like that. It actually tells you to go ahead and top stitch this. I'm going to glue it first because I don't want it to move when I top stitch. So what I'm going to do is have to unclip all this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue just here, closest to the wrong side of my vinyl. I'm only going to use a little bit. I don't want the glue to squeeze out the top because you will see that. So what I'll do is I'll put the glue on, and then I'll leave it to dry, and then I can top stitch. We insert our handle. We don't actually top stitch these seams here. We rivet our handle on because there is going to be quite a lot of bulk there, given that these are your seams, and then you're adding the thickness of your handle in there as well. With my handle, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I found the center. I've measured 1 inch up, and when I put this into my bag, what I want is the front of my bag is here. I want the seam to go to the back. So what I'm going to do is when I put my handle into the side, I'm going to put it in to where that 1 inch line is that I've marked. I'm going to glue it in there. Because I have made mine wider, I'll have room on either side of my seam to put a Chicago screw, because I really don't want to put a Chicago screw through the seam. It could jeopardize my stitching. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll glue it all, and then when I put this in, I'll make sure that it's centered with that seam, and I'm going to glue it in at that 1 inch line, and I'll do that on both sides. Then when it comes time to top stitch, I'll start where it says in the pattern, but I just won't top stitch over these handles here. You really want to make sure that when you're clipping both of your sides together that they're matching up. You have a chance of missing your 1/8 inch when you do your top stitching. So just make sure that they're as even as they can be when you're going ahead and putting all your clips on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my side seams, because this is where the majority of the bulk is going to be, because I've got to go ahead and I've got to put my handle in. What I want is with my handle, I want the seam of the handle to be at the back of the bag. I can go ahead and make sure that the center seams match. I'm going to put it into my bag while leaving everything else clipped, and I'm putting it in to where that 1 inch is, just there. Then I can go ahead and I can just put some clips here on either side just to make sure that the placement is correct. The only problem that I have is that this is going to want to pull in there, and I cannot put clips on this to hold it. So I might have to use some super glue. So I'm going to put some in here, but I'm going to make sure I do not get it on the edge of my bag. I do not want that. And I'm going to squeeze that closed. I think they might work. That should hold it up. I need to come in here and put some on the back of this. So I'm holding it at the front and I'm going to put some in the back. Close that and put some clips to hopefully hold that in place. I might actually come and do the other side first and see what happens with this. So take these off, open this out, matching up those center seams and dropping it in that 1 inch. I think that if I glue this, I think this is going to help the bag sit properly while I glue it, while I glue the rest of it. I'm going to put some more Loctite on this side. I will use fabric glue for all the rest. I don't want to use Loctite for all of it. I kind of feel like I should have top stitched before I went ahead and put that on, but it's done now. So I'm just going to put some glue, make sure I'm just putting it at the bottom of that seam or that fold. I do not want to use a lot because I don't want it to squeeze out the top. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue all the rest and then we'll be back. I'm back. I think I've given it enough time to dry, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave my clips on while I top stitch. I would suggest top stitching and then adding your handle on at the end. I did go ahead and add my Chicago screws to secure my handle. Alright, I'm going to have to top stitch it from the lining. I'm going to top stitch as close to that handle as I can without sewing through it. Alright, I'm going to stop there on that side. Oh, that looks fine. Definitely top stitch before you put your handle on. This is going to show that you can do it if you've done it like I have. And it helps that I have gone ahead and glued everything down because I can remove all my clips and it's staying where it's meant to. You don't want to start too high up because you're going to risk tearing your vinyl. And I'm going to stop there. That's it, all top stitched. That looks great. Really happy with that. I love it. We're done for sewing. From your side seam, there's a measurement that you need to go ahead and mark. So do it on both sides of your side seam. Make sure you're using a removable pen. There's a pattern piece for your eyelets. So what you need to do is you need to go ahead and clip it where you did that mark. So where that mark is, go ahead and clip this on to your bag, and this is where your grommets are going to be placed. Make sure you're using a removable pen and go ahead and mark out those placements. So just like that. So you should have 8 in total, and this is where each set of grommets are going to be placed. So get all those done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through here and get that as centered as I can. It does say that you can use a mallet. I'm going to try and hold that there and hope that that worked. And it did. It pushed it all the way through. So we've got one hole right there. We need to put our grommet in. I'm going to try and do it looking at it like this so that that sits in there. What I'm going to do is use my stiletto and try and get these in there. That's working. So I'm just using my stiletto just to push all the vinyl so I can see the rim of this piece of my grommet. I want to make sure that's all pushed down as much as I can, and then I want to get the other piece and put that through as best as I can, and then we've got to push this together using our press plates. That's pressed on for the most part, and now I can bring back my press and then push this together. Oh, I felt that, and that's in. Oh, that looks fantastic. So now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and do all the rest. I'll do all those and then we'll be back. So what I did when I left you was I went ahead and I glued my handle in, realised that these sides were not coming in as they were meant to after I fed the chain strap through. And then I contacted the designer who said, oh, you've used the wrong type of hose. So then I had to pull it out, and luckily the glue that I used was not super glue and I was able to get it out. I went and I've tried 2 different pieces of hose. I've ended up with garden hose. It's working, but the sides still are not coming in the way that they're meant to with the pattern. I was at a loss as to what to do. Another tester had the same issue that I had, and what she did on her bag to bring these sides in like so, because as you can see, when the sides are in, this has just got a beautiful shape. She went ahead and she used these snaps, and I had them already. So I've used this on this side, and so this is going to keep these closed and still give my bag its shape that it needs to be able to come in at the sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the snaps in on this side before I glue my handle in, because what I want is I want to make sure that nothing is in my way when I'm doing this, and that is where I'm going to put my snaps. And as you can see, that's it. Look at that. So that's our sides done. I've done my handle. I added my Chicago screws back in here, but what I also did was I super glued my handle in. I used super glue this time, so it's not going anywhere. So now we can finish our chain detail and our bag's done. Get your chain. I'm going to start from the front right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put this end in here and just weave it through. So in that one, through this one to the outside, pull it through, and then that will have it so that our O-rings are at the front. And then just keep turning your bag around, and I want to go through here and then through this back one here, just like that. I'm pulling it through. I'm going in here, through there, through this one, through here, through this last one here out the front, and that'll bring both edges to the front. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close my sides. So this is what's meant to happen when you pull your chain through and secure it. It's meant to pull in these sides, but for some reason mine doesn't. Now we can go ahead and finish our chain. So what I need to do is I need to open this side of my chain. I need to put it through the O-ring, making sure not to lose it, and then I'm going to squeeze it together as tight as I can, and then that is completed. Our chain is done. So then when you pull it through, you've got this all this chain at the back to use as a crossbody strap. Look at that. That is beautiful. I love the look of this bag. It's just gorgeous. I love the shape of this bag. That's the front. This is the top with the handle. This is the back. And then you've got your luggage sleeve here. This is the bag on the inside with the sides closed. So you see we've got the back zipper pocket, our slip pocket, and then on the other side we've got another zipper pocket on the back side. So you can either leave it like that to get access to your bag, which there's a lot of room in there, or open your sides which will allow your bag to completely come out. I absolutely love this. I love the design. I love that I was able to make it work with the snaps. And I just love these sides. They just look so elegant. And our handle is completely in the center and ready to go. So you can just carry it by your handle. I love this. It's just such a sophisticated looking bag. And then on the bottom, we've got our bag feet. Look at the gorgeousness of the bag on the bottom. In fact, I think I'm going to keep it for myself. Wow, what a pattern. Please go get the pattern and support this designer. This is the Verona bag. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day and we'll catch you all on the next video. Bye.
Come a little closer. I wanna dance with you. Everything's moving slower. I don't know what it is you do. I've been looking at you all night, trying to figure you out. I just wanna make you smile. Hold your hand in my hand, looking at the sunset. Man, you're looking good tonight. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see but you. It's what you're doing that's making me feel like I'm falling. Yeah, I'm falling in love. Falling in love. You set my wheels